Mourinho gets one over on Pep, and Mbappe and Tuchel are still at war. We've got record breakers, a transfer roundup, and today's Emoji Mondays all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host, Matt Froelich. You are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. So first off, and yes, I am rather happy after yesterday's result as Spurs beat Manchester City 2-0 in what was actually one of their poorer first hours of the season. Spurs were having an absolute shocker, but they weren't as bad as the whole refereeing VAR nonsense. First off, there's Raheem Sterling's potential red card. Now, don't get me wrong, I know things look a lot worse in slow motion. If you literally freeze frame and pause it, he's got his studs right on the ankle of Dele Alli. That looks like a red card. When you play at a normal speed, it could potentially have been a yellow. But if that wasn't bad enough, how on earth has he not been sent off for diving for what could have been a second penalty? So a quick rewind before that. Yes, Serge Aurier is an absolute fool, dived in, gave away a penalty which somehow was overturned by Mike Dean without the ball going out of play and without him even looking at the screen. I mean, that whole way of dealing with it is just nonsense in itself. Anyway, regardless of how it happened, the right decision was reached. Of course, Gundogan missed the penalty, Lloris went out to get the second ball, and Raheem Sterling dived. He definitely dived. They looked at VAR, they took their time over the decision and found out it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty because Lloris didn't touch him. So if he didn't touch him, Sterling went down. If he went down, he's tried to deceive the referee and should be booked, and it should be a red card, regardless of who you support. Regardless of who wins the game, that is a dive. Plenty of players are booked for it, and it should have been a second yellow. Regardless of, it doesn't matter, Spurs went on to win the game. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. The rules are there for a reason. Should have been a second yellow. Anyway, moving on to the second half, and Spurs literally played well for the 10 minutes after Zinchenko's red card. Steven Bergwijn, a fantastic debut goal. Heung-min Son battered in the second, and then they kind of went back to being pretty poor. There is still a lot to work on for Jose Mourinho, but there's also equally a lot to work on for Pep Guardiola. City were good going forward, they just couldn't put the final touch on the end of their moves, and defensively, they still look pretty poor. It's a wonder they didn't sign anybody in the January transfer window. But moving away from that, because we will go into it in more depth in this evening's episode of TFW, and on to Ligue 1, where Paris Saint-Germain had it good. They won 5-0. But some of the players were not too happy, mainly being Kylian Mbappe and Neymar. First off, let's talk about Kylian Mbappe. He was hauled off around the 75th minute, much to his absolute dismay. Thomas Tuchel took him to one side and explained why he'd been taken off, but Mbappe still reacted pretty poorly, and apparently PSG, the club, ordered clear the air talks, whatever that means. I doubt they sit in a room and just thrash it out. It's probably just a load of formalities, and according to various reports, they're still going at it. So from one hand, I can kind of see how Mbappe's pissed off. He's a brilliant forward. He wants to play, he wants to be the best in the world and spend every single minute on the pitch proving people that he can be the best. We saw Ronaldo react angrily to getting substituted. I'm sure Neymar's messy. I'm sure everyone's angry when they get subbed. But on the other hand, the manager is paid to be the manager of the team. You've got to listen to what he says, take it on board, and for someone so young like Mbappe, he needs to take on advice and learn. If he doesn't think that Tuchel's the right kind of manager for him, well, he should probably leave in the summer. This, of course, has sent the rumour mill spinning that Liverpool are planning a big move, but I'm not so sure they're the kind of club to go and spend 200 million. The other player that was pissed off was Neymar, and this I completely disagree with. The Brazilian was, let's say it, showboating. He tried an audacious rainbow flick, which didn't come off. He won a throw-in, yada, yada, yada. The referee pulls him up, warns him against showboating. There's a bit of an altercation, and Neymar gets booked. The referee has absolutely no right to tell Neymar to do on the field. Sorry, Neymar what to do on the field. When the ball's at his feet, the ball's in play, he can do whatever the hell he likes. He knows the rules. If he picks the ball up, there's consequences. He's obviously not going to do that. The ball's at his feet, he can do what he likes. If he can pull it off, great. If he doesn't, he looks like an idiot. He knows that. So for the referee to tell Neymar how to play, this is the referee who's probably never played a game at a serious level in his life, is absolutely outrageous. You stick to refereeing, Neymar will stick to playing the football and doing what he does best. Anyway, moving on from that, and we have an unbelievable amount of record breaking this weekend. It was just insane. Cristiano Ronaldo scored 2 goals, meaning that he now has scored in 9 consecutive Serie A games for Juventus, the first player to do so since David Trezeguet 15 years ago. Ansu Fati's double for Barca over Levante means that he is now the youngest player in La Liga history to score 2 goals in a game. Both of them wonderful assists from Lionel Messi. Ciro Immobile has scored 25 goals in 21 Serie A games. Nobody in Serie A history has scored more. Daniel Maldini came on for AC Milan to become the third generation of Maldinis to play for the great club, alongside father Paolo and grandfather Cesare. Liverpool finished the match day 22 points clear of second place. That is an English League record. And finally, Jadon Sancho became the youngest player in Bundesliga history to score 25 goals. He scored and assisted as they ran out 5-0 winners over Union Berlin in a match which saw Erling Haaland make his first start for Dortmund and score his 6th and 7th goals. The first ever player in Bundesliga history to score 7 goals after just 3 appearances. So next up, to a quick roundup of the rest of the day's news and transfer news, where Lille's 20-year-old midfielder Boubacar Soumaré rejected the move to Newcastle because he wants to move to Liverpool or Manchester United in the summer. Inter Miami are looking at the possibility of bringing in Edinson Cavani when his contract runs out at the end of June. Frank Lampard wants a new keeper to be brought in the summer after a poor run of form from Kepa, which saw him dropped at the weekend in favour of Willy Caballero. And in other football, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So next up, we come to a roundup of your Friday feels. Well, those of you that got your predictions correct in the comment section on Friday's Daily News. Yazzie and Hossam guessed that Real Madrid would be close 1-0 victors over City rivals Atletico, Karim Benzema bagging the goal there. Sandesh Pudel somehow guessed that Spurs would beat Manchester City 2-0, which really didn't seem on the cards before the weekend. And JT Baldor had an exceptional prediction that Erling Haaland would not only score 2 goals, but that Dortmund would score at least 5. Of course, they did in their 5-0 thrashing of Union Berlin. So now we come to Emoji Mondays. This is where we throw down a couple of emojis over some of the weekend's action. First off, the player of the weekend goes to Ciro Immobile. We've already mentioned what he's doing in Serie A, and this weekend he scored another 2 and assisted 1 more as Lazio smashed Spal 5-1 to pretty much put themselves into a 3-horse race for the Serie A title. The crazy moment of this weekend came from Fuenlabrada's Cristobal Marquez. Unbelievably, in the Spanish second division, he was sent off twice. Now, let me give you a quick run through of what happened. Basically, he was sent off for a pretty high challenge. He walked down the tunnel. The referee realised his mistake with the help of VAR, brought him back out and gave him only a yellow card. But before play had restarted, he got into a fight with someone else, during which both players got booked. Obviously, this was his second yellow, so he went straight back to the tunnel with a second red card in the space of a minute. So if that wasn't ridiculous enough, I don't know how many of you watched the Watford-Everton game, because that is the best result of the weekend. 2-0 down Everton were, and they got Fabian Delph sent off in the second half when they'd already brought it back to 2-2, but they managed to find a winner in the very last minute, Theo Walcott grabbing his first Premier League goal of the season. So let me know your Emoji Mondays and your thoughts on the rest of today's Daily News in the comment section down below. Whilst you're there, you can smash the like button, click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on Onefootball, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel as we look forward to 400k. But that's all from me for today, and until next time, I will see you guys later.